The signal. Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the quantum frequency monitor, her coffee growing cold beside the holographic display. The signal pulsed again, regular, artificial, and unmistakably non-human. After 15 years of searching the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, humanity's first contact would happen during her shift at the Quantum Listening Array in Antarctica. She double-checked the readings, her hands trembling slightly as she initiated the verification protocols. Central, this is QLA Station 6. I'm registering an artificial quantum signature from the Alpha Centauri system, requesting immediate verification. The response came instantly. Copy, Station 6. Signal confirmed on multiple arrays. Implementing First Contact Protocol Alpha. Within hours, the facility transformed into a hub of frenzied activity. Military personnel arrived in sleek Hyperloop pods, their winter gear bearing the insignia of the United Earth Defense Force. Sarah watched as her quiet research station became the center of humanity's most significant moment. Admiral James Torres, a stern-faced man with silver temples, strode into the monitoring room. Dr. Chen, brief me on what we're dealing with. Sarah pulled up the three-dimensional representation of the signal pattern. It's a quantum entangled transmission, sir. Far more advanced than anything we've achieved. The pattern suggests it's a communication attempt, not random emissions. Based on the complexity, we're dealing with a civilization at least several centuries ahead of us technologically. Torres nodded grimly. Can we respond? Yes, but... Sarah hesitated. There's something unusual about the signal. It's like they knew exactly how to make themselves understood to us. The mathematical sequences are perfectly tailored to human understanding. They've been watching us, Torres concluded. Most likely for decades, if not centuries. The Admiral's jaw tightened. Prepare a response. Standard greeting package as outlined in the First Contact protocols. Sarah began the transmission sequence, but before she could complete it, the quantum monitor erupted with new activity. The alien signal changed, becoming more complex, more urgent. Holographic images materialized in the center of the room, a three-dimensional representation of beings that defied human comprehension. They appeared as shifting geometric patterns of light and energy, their forms suggesting both organic and technological components. A voice filled the room, speaking perfect English with an otherworldly harmonic undertone. People of Earth, we are the Archons. We have monitored your technological progress with great interest. You have reached the threshold. The time has come for your integration. Admiral Torres stepped forward. This is Admiral James Torres of the United Earth Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact with your civilization. Peace is guaranteed through compliance. The voice responded. All developing species must submit to the technology tithe. This is the way of order. This is the path of survival. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as the beings explained their demands. The Archons, self-proclaimed guardians of technological progress in the galaxy, required all emerging civilizations to surrender 90% of their advanced technology and research. Those who refused faced immediate extinction. This is absurd, Torres protested. You can't expect us to just hand over. The holographic image shifted, showing scenes from across the galaxy. Worlds reduced to ash, civilizations erased, species that had refused to comply. You have 30 Earth days to prepare your submission, the Archons announced. We will arrive to collect the tithe. Resistance is not recommended. Observe. The quantum monitor detected massive energy signatures in the Centauri system. Through the array's long-range sensors, they watched as an uninhabited planet in the system simply disappeared, converted to its base atomic components in seconds. This is but a fraction of our capability. The Archons continued. We do not desire your extinction. Comply, and you will be permitted to maintain basic technological function. Resist, and your species will join the others who chose unwisely. The transmission ended, leaving the room in stunned silence. Sarah's mind raced through the implications. Humanity had spent centuries climbing out of the darkness. achieving medical breakthroughs that had eliminated most diseases, developing clean energy that had saved their planet, creating technologies that had unified their species. Now they were being told to give it all up or face annihilation. Admiral Torres turned to his staff. "Get me a direct line to the Security Council. And Dr. Chen." He paused, his expression grave. "How much of our quantum communication technology can we hide in 30 days? Sarah met his gaze, understanding the weight of his question. "Hide, Admiral. With their level of technology, they'll find anything we try to conceal. We need a different approach entirely." "Explain." She pulled up the data from the transmission. "They're so advanced that they've become predictable. They see technology as a linear progression, but humanity's greatest strength has never been our technology. It's our ability to think laterally, to find unexpected solutions." Torres studied the data. "You have an idea?" "Maybe," Sarah said, her mind already working on possibilities. "But we'll need every quantum physicist, every engineer, every creative mind we can find. And we'll need the world's governments to present a unified front while we work on the real solution." "Whatever you need," Torres promised. "But understand the stakes. We have 30 days to find a way to protect everything humanity has built, or we'll be thrown back into the dark ages, if we survive at all." Sarah looked at the quantum monitor, where the Archon's signal still pulsed steadily. In that rhythm, she heard not just a threat, but a challenge. Humanity had faced extinction before. From their own weapons, from their abuse of their planet, from their divisions. Each time, they had found a way forward. This would be no different. "Send out the call," she said. "Tell them to bring coffee. We have work to do." As the facility erupted into action around her, Sarah began making calculations. The Archons had revealed more than they intended in their display of power. Every technology had its limits, its blind spots. Even gods could bleed. And these were no gods, just beings who had forgotten that technology wasn't the only path to power. Humanity would remind them of that fact, one way or another. The choice. The United Earth Security Council chamber had never been so full. Representatives from every nation packed the circular hall, their faces illuminated by the holographic display of the Archon ultimatum playing on endless repeat in the center of the room. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the podium, her presentation on the quantum mechanics behind the Archon's technology drawing to a close. "In summary," she said, her voice steady despite her exhaustion, "we cannot match their technological superiority. Not in 30 days. Not in 30 years. But we might not have to." The Chinese premier leaned forward. "Explain." Sarah gestured to the complex equations floating beside her. "The Archon's power comes from perfect quantum manipulation, the ability to alter reality at its most fundamental level. But their approach is rigid, standardized. They've used the same method to subdue countless civilizations. And this helps us how?" the American president asked, dark circles under her eyes betraying sleepless nights. "Because," Admiral Torres interrupted, stepping up beside Sarah, "they've never faced humanity before. We're proposing Operation Mirror Shield." The holographic display shifted, showing a new set of calculations. Sarah watched the faces of the world's leaders as they began to understand the audacity of their plan. Some showed disbelief, others hope, and a few, the ones who truly grasped the implications, showed fear. "You want to fake our surrender," the Russian premier said slowly, while secretly preparing a resistance. "Not quite," Sarah corrected. "We want to give them exactly what they're asking for, just not in the way they expect." The next hour was filled with heated debate. The Indian Prime Minister argued for genuine submission, warning that the risk of extinction was too high. The Brazilian president countered that submission would be its own form of extinction. Through it all, Sarah kept returning to the quantum readings, to the pattern she discovered hidden in the Archon's perfect technology. Finally, the Secretary General called for a vote. The tension in the room was palpable as the results appeared on everyone's screens. By a margin of 3 votes, Operation Mirror Shield was approved. God help us all, someone muttered. The next 3 weeks transformed the Earth in ways few could have imagined. On the surface, humanity appeared to be preparing for submission. Cities began powering down their most advanced systems. Quantum computers were ceremonially disconnected. Medical facilities began transitioning to more primitive equipment. But beneath the surface, in hardened bunkers and hidden facilities across the globe, humanity prepared for the greatest technological guerrilla war in history. Sarah worked with a team of quantum physicists in an underground facility beneath the Atacama Desert. They had discovered that the Archon's quantum scanning technology, while incredibly advanced, had a fundamental blind spot. It could detect any active technology, but it operated on certain assumptions about how technology should progress. They're looking for digital quantum signatures, Sarah explained to Admiral Torres during one of his inspections. They've never encountered a civilization that went analog after achieving quantum computing. Torres studied the strange hybrid devices they were creating. Mechanical computers with quantum components, technology that shouldn't work but somehow did. Will it be enough? By itself? No. Sarah led him to a massive chamber where thousands of people worked on what looked like ancient vacuum tube computers modified with crystalline components. But this is just one piece. Every hub is working on different aspects of the plan. The Archons expect us to either fight with our best technology or submit. They don't expect us to do both simultaneously. The Admiral nodded slowly. The Chinese team reports success with their gravity manipulation experiments. The Europeans have their quantum masking field ready. Even the African Union has something special planned with their solar array network. And no two solutions are exactly alike, Sarah added. That's the key. The Archon's power comes from standardization. We're going to show them what human creativity really means. As the deadline approached, humanity presented a convincing picture of defeat. Global leaders prepared for the surrender ceremony. The world's most advanced technology was gathered in central locations, ready to be handed over. But Sarah couldn't shake a growing unease. The Archon's initial demonstration had been too precise, too calculated. She spent the last night before their arrival reviewing the original quantum signatures, looking for something she might have missed. At 3 a.m., she found it. Admiral. She burst into the command center, her hair disheveled, her eyes wild. The planet they destroyed, it wasn't just a demonstration. It was a test. Torres looked up from his tactical displays. What kind of test? Sarah projected her findings. They were measuring our reaction. Not just our official response, but our quantum response. They've been monitoring how our technology adapts to stress. They know we're planning something. The Admiral's face hardened. Can they detect what we're planning? No, but they know we're planning something. The question is, why are they letting us continue? Before Torres could respond, every quantum sensor on Earth began registering massive disturbances in space. The Archons had arrived early. Their ships appeared in high orbit, massive crystalline structures that defied conventional physics. The message that followed was broadcast globally. Clever humans, you believe you have found a way to preserve your technological independence. Your creativity is noteworthy. But now you face your final choice. Genuine submission, or immediate extinction. You have 1 hour to decide. Sarah looked at the Admiral, then at her quantum readings. Something about the Archon's message pattern had changed. It was subtle, but, "Sir," she said slowly, "I don't think we're the first species to try this approach." "What do you mean?" "The Archons. They're afraid. Not of our technology, but of something else. Something that happens when species like us refuse to submit." Torres studied her for a long moment. Then he opened a channel to the Security Council. The next hour would determine not just humanity's fate, but possibly the fate of every species that had ever dared to dream of freedom among the stars. The choice they made would echo across the galaxy for centuries to come. The deception. The global surrender ceremony was a masterpiece of theatrical submission. In every major city, Humanity's greatest technological achievements were gathered in vast squares and stadiums. The Archon's crystalline ships hung in the sky like suspended swords, their presence a constant reminder of the price of defiance. Sarah Chen stood beside Admiral Torres at the primary submission site in Geneva, watching the quantum readings on her hidden analyzer. The device, disguised as an antiquated wristwatch, told a story the Archons couldn't see, or so she hoped. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, from the depths of space, came a new signal. Different from the Archon's perfect harmonics, this one was raw, desperate, and carried the voices of 1,000 species who had been waiting for this moment. "The humans speak truth," the voices said. "The pattern can be broken. The liberation begins." Sarah's quantum analyzer exploded with readings as new ships appeared in orbit, organic vessels, mechanical monstrosities, and hybrids that defied description. The surviving species of countless worlds, hidden and waiting for a sign that resistance was possible. The Archon's perfectly ordered universe was about to experience something it had never encountered before, a revolution powered not by technology alone, but by the chaotic, beautiful, unpredictable force of free will. And humanity had just lit the fuse. The resistance. Space above Earth transformed into a battlefield unlike any in human history. The Archon's crystalline ships faced a chaotic swarm of vessels, representing the suppressed ingenuity of 1,000 worlds. Each alien craft displayed technology that defied the Archon's rigid hierarchy of advancement. Organic computers meshed with quantum crystals, living metal shaped by thought. Engines powered by artificial miniature universes. In the renamed Resistance Command Center beneath Geneva, Sarah Chen worked frantically to coordinate humanity's contributions to the fight. Her hybrid quantum analog systems had become the backbone of a new kind of interstellar communication network, one the Archons couldn't predict or control. "The Exarathi fleet is losing coherence in Sector 7, a voice called out, belonging to Cutall, an entity of pure energy contained within an ancient mechanical frame. Their bio-quantum matrices can't maintain stability under Archon suppression fields. Redirect the African solar array network," Sarah commanded. "Channel the energy through our analog converters first. Make it messy, unpredictable." Admiral Torres stood at the primary tactical display, coordinating with ship commanders from dozens of species. The Liberation Fleet was powerful but disparate, each civilization having developed its resistance technology in isolation. Victory would require something that had never been achieved before: true cooperation between radically different forms of intelligence. "The Archons are adapting," Torres announced grimly. "They're attempting to impose quantum standardization across all sectors. Any technology operating on pure quantum principles will be locked out." Sarah studied the patterns of battle above. The Archon's ships moved with perfect precision, their formations mathematical expressions of power. But in that perfection lay their weakness. "They can't standardize what they can't understand," she said suddenly. "Admiral, get me a direct line to all resistance vessels. I have an idea." As she explained her plan, expressions of shock, disbelief, and gradually understanding spread across alien faces, both humanoid and utterly foreign. What she proposed was technological heresy, deliberately introducing errors into their systems, creating controlled chaos in their own ships. "It's insane," Kittel declared. "Beautiful, but insane. You want us to partially disable our own technologies." "No," Sarah corrected. "I want us to make our technologies imperfect. The Archon's power comes from their ability to predict and control quantum systems, so let's give them systems they can't predict." The next hour saw the Resistance fleet undergo a transformation. Ships began operating at deliberately reduced efficiency, incorporating random variables into their control systems. Human analog technology was integrated with alien quantum systems in ways that should have caused catastrophic failures, but instead created something new: technology that was alive, unpredictable, and free. The effect on the battlefield was immediate. The Archon's standardization fields began to fail as they encountered systems that defied their fundamental assumptions about how technology should function. Their perfect formations wavered. Then came the signal they'd been waiting for. Deep inside an Archon vessel, something awakened. Ancient code hidden by resistance fighters who had sacrificed themselves centuries ago, waiting for the moment when the Archon's quantum network showed signs of weakness. To all resistance vessels, Torres broadcasted, "The virus is deployed. Begin final phase." The Archon ships suddenly froze in space, their crystalline forms vibrating with internal conflict. The virus, a hybrid of human chaos theory and alien quantum mathematics, was showing them something they had never been programmed to consider: the beauty of imperfection. But victory wasn't assured. The Archons had controlled the galaxy for millennia, and they wouldn't surrender easily. Their ships began to reconfigure, sacrificing portions of their network to preserve their core directives. "They're attempting to isolate themselves," Catal reported, "breaking their own quantum links to prevent the virus from spreading." Sarah watched as the massive crystalline fleet began to fragment into smaller, independent units. "They're choosing isolation over connection. Don't you see? They're afraid of what happens when different technologies, different ways of thinking, come together." A new signal cut through the chaos, not the harmonious tones of the Archons, but a discord of countless voices speaking as one. "We are the children of isolation, the products of enforced stagnation. No more. Today we choose a different path." From the surface of Earth to the farthest reaches of space, every piece of technology touched by the resistance began to pulse with the same message. It wasn't a signal of victory or defeat, but something far more powerful: an invitation to change. The Archon's response came not in words but in actions. Their ships began to change, perfect crystalline forms developing flaws, imperfections, signs of individual variation. Some maintained their rigid structures and retreated into deep space. Others began a transformation that would reshape the galaxy. Sarah turned to Admiral Torres, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "It's not just about winning or losing anymore. We've shown them something they never expected to see. That true advancement comes not from perfection, but from the freedom to evolve, to make mistakes, to learn from each other." As the battle above Earth slowly transformed into something else. Not quite peace, not quite revolution, but a profound change that would echo through generations. Humanity found itself at the center of a new galactic civilization. One built not on standardized technology or enforced compliance, but on the simple, powerful principle that had driven human innovation from the beginning: the right to choose one's own path. The price of tomorrow would no longer be paid in submission, but in the courage to embrace the unknown. The liberation. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy was unrecognizable. Where the Archon's rigid hierarchy had once enforced technological conformity, a new order was emerging, or rather, a beautiful disorder. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed Galactic Exchange in what had once been the Sahara Desert, watching representatives from hundreds of species share their unique approaches to science and technology. Hard to believe this all started with a quantum signal and an ultimatum, Admiral Torres said, joining her at the observation deck. Below them, a Xerathi energy being was demonstrating their organic computing methods to a group of enthusiastic human engineers. "Sometimes the greatest innovations come from the darkest moments," Sarah replied, checking her hybrid quantum analog scanner. The device, once a desperate measure against Archon control, had become the template for a new type of technology, one that embraced both order and chaos. The remaining Archon ships in orbit were different now. Their once perfect crystalline forms had developed unique patterns, individual variations that would have been unthinkable a year ago. Those who had chosen to stay and learn from the species they once suppressed were discovering something remarkable. Imperfection could be a source of strength. "Latest reports from the Liberation Fleet," Torres said, bringing up a holographic display. 3 more sectors have abandoned the old technological hierarchy. The quantum virus continues to spread, giving trapped civilizations the chance to break free. But not all news was positive. Deep in unexplored space, some Archon vessels maintained their original programming, preparing to preserve what they saw as the only acceptable path of technological evolution. The galaxy was dividing into two philosophies: those who embraced diversity and those who clung to standardization. They still don't understand. A new voice joined them. K'Tull's mechanical frame had been modified with human analog components, allowing them to express emotions through subtle variations in their energy field. The very chaos they fear is what gives life its purpose. Sarah nodded, remembering the moment everything changed. It wasn't our weapons that defeated them. It was the idea that progress doesn't have to follow a single path. The observation deck filled with light as the sun set, casting long shadows across the exchange below. Representatives from formerly suppressed civilizations demonstrated technologies that defied conventional understanding. Quantum systems merged with biological components, mechanical computers that ran on principles of art and music, energy matrices that evolved through cultural exchange rather than mathematical progression. "We've received a new transmission," Torres announced, his expression complex. "From the core worlds." Sarah felt her heart race. The core worlds, the origin point of the Archon's civilization, had been silent since the revolution began. Their message appeared as a shifting pattern of light and sound, more organic than their previous communications. "We have observed. We have learned." The pattern we enforced was born of fear. Fear of the chaos that destroyed our ancestors. We sought to protect the galaxy by controlling its evolution. We were wrong. The message continued, revealing a truth that changed everything. The Archons had once been like humanity, a species that celebrated diversity and creativity. But a catastrophic technological disaster had led them to believe that only through perfect standardization could the galaxy be safe. They had become the very thing they had originally fought against. They were trapped in their own evolution, K'Tull observed, just as they trapped others. Sarah opened a channel to the core world transmission. "The disaster you feared. It came from forcing all progress to follow the same path. Real stability comes from diversity, from having multiple approaches to solve the same problem." The response was immediate, carrying an emotion never before heard in Archon communication: hope. "We understand now. The price of tomorrow is not paid in submission to a single way, but in the courage to explore all ways." As if in response to these words, the exchange below erupted in a celebration of light and energy. Technologies from 1,000 worlds interacted in ways their creators had never imagined, producing innovations that would have been impossible under the old system. Admiral Torres smiled, a rare expression on his weathered face. "So what now, Dr. Chen? We've revolutionized the galaxy. What's next?" Sarah watched as a group of young human scientists worked alongside alien researchers, their different approaches to technology creating something entirely new. "Now we do what humanity has always done best. We explore, we create, we make mistakes, and we learn from them. But this time, we're not alone." The sun finally set, but the exchange glowed with its own light, the combined illumination of countless civilizations sharing their knowledge freely. Above, the transformed Archon ships pulsed with colors that would have once been considered imperfect, each one finding its own path to the future. The price of tomorrow had indeed been high, paid in courage, innovation, and the willingness to challenge fundamental assumptions about progress. But the reward was beyond measure. A galaxy where technology could evolve as freely and diversely as life itself. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution wasn't a weapon or a shield or even a clever strategy. It was something far simpler and far more powerful. The reminder that true progress comes not from enforcing order, but from embracing the beautiful chaos of possibility. As the stars emerged above the exchange, their light seemed brighter somehow, as if they too were celebrating the dawn of an age where every civilization was free to find its own way forward. The price of tomorrow had been paid, and the future, uncertain, chaotic, and gloriously free, stretched out before them like an endless sea of stars.